Ideas for content continue to be one of the hardest obstacles a lot of the businesses that we work with need to overcome in order to be able to create content on an ongoing basis. And I've given you previously some ways that you can use customer problems, you can use some of the most frequently asked questions, and some other very basic things in order to create, we'll call it maybe standard content or a baseline of content. But today I'm going to give you an exercise that will allow you to kind of evolve past that a little bit and actually begin to get creative in your content process. Let's get into it. All right, so a lot of times when it comes time to sit down and create content, especially if you are using some of the batch methods we've used before or we've talked about before, it can be tough. It can be tough to come up with ideas. It can be tough to try to sit down in a moment and encapsulate everything you want to say as a brand. And that's honestly why you should be capturing your ideas and your content stories over time, over the course of the month, over the course of the week prior to recording or whatever it is. But when you have some time and you want to get a little bit more creative, a little bit past just the regular, let's answer a question or service a specific problem that our customer is having, and you want to get past that a little bit and try to think of what's a new way I can talk about our product or our service. There is a tool I learned from the book. It is called Storyworthy, and it's a really interesting book, very helpful for those of us who do content or marketing or storytelling for a living. And the author talks about a exercise in the book called Crash and Burn. And I've been using Crash and Burn for a little while now, probably about 2 to 3 months, both for content and also just storytelling in general in some different areas that I do. And I found it really, really helpful. I think it does several things. It helps you conjure up old stories that you may have forgotten. It brings new ways of looking at the same thing you've talked about multiple times. It brings that into a new light, and it can really help you combine a bunch of different stories or things that have happened to you or to your company over time. And so then that combination turns out a new story or a new way about talking about that story. So this is how you functionally do it. It's a little bit difficult to describe, but I think if you just stick with me for a second, it's going to be really helpful. So you set a timer for 10 minutes, okay? And the idea here is you're not going to stop writing something for the course of that 10 minutes. 10 minutes is really not that long once you get into it, but it can be a little bit intimidating at first. So don't worry about it. Set the timer for 10 minutes. And the way that it works is that either you are going to be writing a story that you remember from your past or from your business or a customer story that you've encountered, or you are going to write some type of continual series. What I mean by that is this. It's just easier to demonstrate. If I was doing it, I might be talking about the time I was creating an episode of Content is for Closers. I was recording it in my room. And then whenever that thought blanks out, what I use is colors. So I'll start typing green, yellow, red, purple, black, white, until the next story pops into my head. And then I do a slash and continue on with the next story. I'll write that story until it's complete or until a new thought pops into my head, do a slash and talk about that new thought. And then whenever that new thought runs out and, I don't have any more thoughts immediately, I go back to colors: black, white, tan, fuchsia. I know I'm in trouble when fuchsia pops out because that's usually when I'm really starting to grasp at straws, and so I'm beginning to dig deep into the color wheel. But the idea here is for the 10 minutes, you do not stop writing, and you try to cycle through as many different stories, as many different thoughts as possible, through the 10 minutes. So just give you a quick example. I'm talking about Content is for Closers. It's a really helpful thing. Closing is a great thing. And then all of a sudden I have a new thought, slash. The Eagles played Sunday, slash. When I was a child, I went to an Eagles game and I had such and such great experience, slash. experience is a huge part of our business, and how are we making sure our customer experience is going the right way? Slash red, yellow, green, black, slash black. That's the color of sin. I hope that, you see where I'm going with this. Like, you continue to write and think in that 10-minute time frame. You do not stop until you've come out. Once you've done that, once the 10 minutes is up, then you go back and circle or highlight the stories that actually have legs, that actually have some potential, whether that be because you can flesh them out a little bit and tell them as a story in your content, or because you can combine that story with another story that maybe you did in that crash and burn session, or you did another crash and burn session, or you just knew of in general. And combining the two creates something valuable for your audience. The real key here is, A, you got to do it for the whole 10 minutes. I know that can feel long, especially in the early days. And B, you have to do this regularly. This can't be like a one and done when you're looking for ideas. This is every day, or 3 times a week, or once a week. Whatever your frequency is, I don't know, but this needs to be an ongoing thing, because there are going to be a lot of days where the ideas that you generate may or may not seem like super, super compelling stories in the moment. But when you take them and you combine them with other stories or ideas that you come up with during these exercises, over time, there's a compounding effect, and you're able to generate a volume of ideas that actually do help and do have some value there. So, ideas are not easy, but they are within you. And the difference between someone who is a creative versus a non-creative person is just knowing where to look and the ease of finding those ideas within yourself. This is kind of training your brain, training your mind to know where to look and how to identify those ideas over time. Hopefully that'll help you with your content ideation. And I hope we'll see you tomorrow.